if you've made the decision to hire, you probably have a specific reason for doing so. Maybe a project that's come up for your company, or you're finally pulling in enough revenue to let you hire that extra developer you've always wanted. So now comes the fun part. What kind of developer are you trying to hire? So one question I know that you're going to want to answer, one question that Ben, I know that you've had to answer is, should I hire for experience or should I hire for potential? Or maybe that's a false choice altogether. Where do you stand on that, Ben?
So there's certainly a budget consideration here. That's going to be a factor in
I
who you
appreciate
can
the
afford
honesty.
and
It
the
does matter.
experience you can afford. So we can't forget that, can't leave that out. Let's imagine that you have the budget for experience, you have the budget for potential, who's
Yeah.
probably going to be cheaper. I feel really strongly that potential is a good way to go if you have your time and runway to get that person up to speed. So that's
Yeah.
the biggest factor, I would say. Do you or does someone who's more senior on your team have the time and like the time in each week and the time of the months of the project, if that makes sense, to help someone develop into their position? And if you do, I actually think this can really pay off. I love giving people an opportunity. It's worked out well for me in the past, and I would recommend you give it a good hard look. If you don't have that time, if you don't have someone on the team or you don't have time in your schedule to get someone up to speed, I think that's the time to pay more for that experience, to pay more for someone who's going to have an onboarding experience of a couple of weeks instead of a few months, and you can get high quality results from them. So as long as you have the budget, if you're short on time or your own bandwidth, I think you have to go for more experience at that point.
I think also just being aware of like, where are you in terms of like building this team and what future potential might there be, right? If you know you've got the budget, you can finally hire this developer. You might be able to hire more in the future, but maybe not. And maybe you yourself, especially if you yourself are not technical, then you might want somebody with that experience, right? Somebody who can come in and, it seems tempting, right? As you said, it can be cheaper. Bring in someone early in their career. You start talking yourself into things like, they'll grow with us, they'll learn, and that can all be very true if you have a long time frame.
Right.
But being aware of that time investment and that time requirement, like for that person to get up to speed, for them to grow alongside you, but also on your own, right? Can you mentor this person? Can you help them grow? All those things like really, really matter.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the length of the project is also a factor. If
Sure.
you don't know if you'll have this person around in a year and a half or 2 years, then you're not going to reap the benefits of taking a chance on them and helping them develop. But if you think you're building a team that's going to last for years and years, that's when the payoff really hits, right? They at that point deeply know your business, know your product, and they become a good developer along the way. That's when you are paying off, or you're reaping the benefit of that gamble.
Yeah, there is so it also sort of feels good sometimes too, right? To like you are helping mentoring people and help them grow. Yeah. But no, you're right. I mean, that is something that if you're watching this video right now, you need to be thinking about, right? Like there is a cost to both in terms of like it's going to take them longer to sort of get up to speed. They're going to be potentially slower to develop and to work on things. But if you are really in it for the long haul, and if you are really making that investment, then that might be sort of the right move to make.
And I'll say the best person with potential, meaning like the person is a better fit for you and your team, but they're less experienced, that person is probably a better hire than someone who's a poor fit for your team, but they have more experience. And so you can't just use experience as the only barometer of, is this the right person on my
matters.
Team? Right. You need to get the right person on the team. And that might not be the most experienced person in your pool of applicants.